JBNN keep you informed. I'm Michelle Jones. Before we get into the news, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share the news with someone today. Now onto the news. 4 or 5 victims in PJ Patterson Highway crash identified. Police have released the names of 4 of the 5 people who died in Wednesday's tragic minibus crash along the PJ Patterson Highway in St. Catherine. Those killed have been identified as Deron Johnson, 40, a construction worker from Mortuaries St. Anne, Marcia Reed, 49, of Avondale, Kingston, 20, Deanford Gardner, 59, of Independence City, Portmore, and Sharon Roberts, 64, of Comfort District, Manchester. A 5th victim remains unidentified. The collision, which involved a public passenger minibus, left 15 of the passengers injured. Investigations into the circumstances surrounding the crash are ongoing. Carlet's Road tense after murder of 60-year-old resident. Tension is running high in sections of Carlet's Road, Spanish Town, St. Catherine, following the shooting death of a 60-year-old man on Thursday morning. The deceased has been identified as Alfonso Samuel McDonald, otherwise called Boo. According to police reports, residents heard explosions around 5:30 a.m. and later discovered McDonald lying face down with what appeared to be gunshot wounds to the head. Lawmen were alerted, and McDonald was rushed to the Spanish Town Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Investigators say no motive has yet been established for the attack. The Spanish Town Criminal Investigation Branch has launched a probe into the incident. Man freed of gun and robbery charges after nearly 3 years in custody. A Kingston man who spent almost 3 years behind bars, accused of attempting to rob and shoot a taxi operator, has been freed of all charges. 25-year-old Ryan Baker of Smith Lane in Kingston was acquitted in the gun court of charges including using a firearm to commit a felony, assault with intent to rob, and wounding with intent. The charges stemmed from a December 14, 2022 incident in downtown Kingston, where Baker is alleged to have been part of a group that held up a taxi operator, attempted to steal his vehicle, and later shot him during a struggle. According to the allegations, Baker was reportedly a passenger in the taxi when a gun was drawn and the driver was ordered out. The vehicle later crashed into a utility pole, after which the taxi operator was shot and the assailant escaped. Baker was subsequently arrested during a police operation at his home. However, at the end of the prosecution's case, Attorney-at-Law Javid Grant submitted that the Crown had failed to prove that Baker had any knowledge of a gun, participated in the attempted robbery, or acted jointly with anyone involved. Grant argued that while Baker had been present during the incident, no evidence connected him to the weapon, the shooting, or any coordinated plan to rob the complainant. Justice Tarakar agreed, ruling that the prosecution had not proven any of the offenses. She stated that joint inferences of knowledge or participation on Baker's part would be a stretch and ordered his immediate release. Opposition questions Health Ministry's testing capacity for leptospirosis. The parliamentary opposition believes the number of leptospirosis cases in Jamaica is much higher than what has been reported by the Ministry of Health. The Health Ministry says 90 cases of the disease were reported up to November 26. 21 of the cases were confirmed. The ministry also disclosed that 6 of the 14 leptospirosis-related deaths reported nationally have been verified. But opposition spokesman on health, Dr. Alfred Dawes, says the true representation of the disease is not being reflected due to inadequate testing.
I don't think that we're testing enough, or if we're testing, the results are coming back fast enough. The Ministry of Health needs to be a little bit more forthcoming about their testing capacity. Are we testing here in Jamaica, or are we sending samples overseas? If it is the latter, what is the search plan when we are going to have a lot more probable cases in the next few weeks, and that will demand a higher rate of testing? And these can be used in a primary care setting, doctors in the communities, clinics, and even in homes where persons can get a droplet of blood. But we have to expand testing capabilities. That's the only way we can get to an early diagnosis and get targeted treatment of leptospirosis, because in the early stages it's very similar to flu, dengue, as well as other viral illnesses.
Field hospitals bolstering medical care in hurricane-hit parishes. The Ministry of Health is reporting that hospitals in parishes affected by Category 5 Storm Melissa are now capable of treating emergency cases. Speaking Thursday at the Ministry's press conference, Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton said services have been bolstered with the commissioning of 3 field hospitals. He noted that more than 1,000 patients have already been seen at the Black River Field Hospital in St. Elizabeth, which is currently operating from the Black River High School. In the meantime, Dr. Tufton said the Chinese government has sent a medical ship to Jamaica with 104 medical professionals on board.
So up to November 18th, the facility has provided services to 1,271 persons. Of that total, 70 persons were admitted into care within the facility, and the facility is operating very well and really serving an important purpose while we seek to manage the restoration of the Black River Hospital. I want to just commend the partnership between Samaritan's Purse and the local team on the ground, because they have been really delivering on the need for this very important service. We also have at Savlamar outpatient facility that has been set up in the form of health centers, Tier 1, and that is also treating outpatients, and that is going well. Tomorrow I'll get a report on that. And so for Savlamar, which is one of the very difficult parishes in terms of the hurricane, we have been able to respond in terms of hospital services, and will continue so to do as we build out back the Savlamar Hospital. More will be said on that tomorrow when I visit. The Ark Silk Road arrived in Jamaica's territorial waters on November 22nd and is now anchored at the Pedro Keys. It will relocate to the Falmouth Pier this weekend, and that's another big boost to capacity of healthcare provision. I want to just recognize and thank the Chinese government for their support, and in this instance, a medical floating vessel with the personnel and equipment. The Office of the Chief Medical Officer is working with them and the team on the ground to find the best and most efficient approach to treating with patients, or certainly any other type of clinical support or otherwise logistic support that may be necessary as we seek to build back our facilities.
Mackenzie vows greater enforcement of National Building Code next year. Against the backdrop of Hurricane Melissa's devastation last month, Minister of Local Government Desmond Mackenzie has declared that the rebuilding must be done effectively and in accordance with Jamaica's National Building Code.
We are vulnerable to everything that is natural as a disaster. The question of our building codes, and I must say, and I don't want to talk too early, that our building code have stood up. But there needs to be a lot more. And the country must be prepared to work with us when we introduce measures which will be done to preserve life and property. And this thing where people just get 2 sheets of zinc and some ply and put down a house in the middle of a riverbed, and when you talk to them, them say them poor. Time has come when we must forget about whether you're poor or rich, because disaster don't know nobody.
True.
And if we look at what has taken place, it is the majority of us that say we are poor that suffers mostly from disasters, because of how we conduct ourselves in terms of putting down structures. And I'm making a general appeal this morning here that persons must understand that if the law says that you can't, if there's a setback, and we're going to be rolling out all of this in the new year, but the country must recognize that we cannot continue to operate like this much longer. It's not going to be possible. Ask yourselves the question: if Melissa had come straight across Kingston, what would happen to Jamaica? One man in the country tells me, boy, I'm Sam Mackenzie, me glad Melissa never come to Kingston, you know. because country can't manage town. So what he's in fact saying is that town can manage country, but country can't manage town.
That's right.
Because that is where the seat of government exists.
Mackenzie also disclosed that the relocation of some of Jamaica's infirmaries located in flood-prone areas is one option being considered as part of the country's Building Back Stronger objective in the wake of Category 5 Hurricane Melissa.
One of the lessons that Melissa has taught us, that nowhere in Jamaica is safe anymore. And especially if you are operating close to the sea, to a river. And the infirmary in St. Ann sits next door to the sea. We're going to be making arrangements to have the infirmary in St. Ann relocated. We're going to be doing that because what I saw in Falmouth, and I learned from Beryl that to move the residents can't be done on the same day the hurricane is blowing. And that was what happened last year with Beryl. And this time around, I gave instruction 3 days before. And I am glad I did. Because when I went to Falmouth, I wouldn't be standing here this morning. I'd be in jail with numerous counts of murder on my shoulder as the minister. Because what I saw in Falmouth, nothing could help the residents there. We're not going to make any mistakes when we come around to the infirmaries during the times that we think they are going to be in danger. So we're going to be starting the process to find the lands in St. Ann, to relocate that infirmary. And then there are a lot of works to be done here that we can look at to see how best we can minimize the level of flooding that takes place on this compound. This section is extremely low. We have the fire brigade station up the road. They too were affected. They couldn't come out to offer any help to anybody. And where we are at this location, I've asked the chief technical officer in the ministry to sit with a team, and I want to tell you that I am making a wide circle of intervention.
JBNN will keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.